Welcome to Stoughton Media Access Corporation's Community Forum Show. My name is Steve Kelley. I'll be your host today. And today I have the pleasure of welcoming the Library Building Committee and the Library Director. So Pat Basler first. Hi Pat, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So we're going to find out a little bit about the project, the new library reconstruction, we'll call it that.
Okay.
And you can tell us with your committee where we are and where we're going and when it's all going to happen.
All right. Well, thanks for having us on the show. So about 10 years ago, we started planning a long-range plan for a new building. We had an original library building committee, and actually Gary was the chairman of that when we started. We've now reached the point where we have the final library building committee that will produce a new building. Our current building is 22,000 square feet, and the new building will be 30,000, more or less, square feet. And it will add a second floor on the front of the building of 8,000 square feet. And it will update, this renovation will update the building, so we'll have the latest technology available and actual electric outlets so that people can use their technology in the building. We will be able to replace the roof, the HVAC system, which we can't get parts for. It really will be a 21st century building.
Wonderful. So let me shift over to, first I'll introduce you guys. So Gary llacqua, the chair of the Library Building Committee.
Yes.
Right? All right. Tom Gatzunis, right? For
That's correct.
Daedalus.
Daedalus.
And you're the construction company's
Oh,
rep?
no, the owner's project manager.
The owner's project
Right.
manager. So you work for the library.
That's correct. We represent the town throughout this process.
Okay. So that's going to give a good level of oversight.
Absolutely.
All right.
We are not the contractor. We're not the architect. We focus on making sure that the town of Stoughton gets the project that they deserve and that they have funded for.
Wonderful. And Jeff Wolk. Now, Jeff.
Joel.
Joel. I'm sorry. Joel.
Okay.
Joel. All right. Joel, what is your role in the building committee
Well, I am
besides
the
vice chair?
I'm the vice chairman, and I'm a retired construction manager. So I'm also on the high school building committee, and I've been taking the time to work on both projects, and especially this project, to make sure that everything is done properly and in accordance with state contracts. Work very closely with Maureen Doherty, who you may have met from
Yes.
the procurement office.
Procurement, yeah.
Who I've known for many, many years, and we make sure we keep an eye on everything. One of the things that I'm primarily interested in is to make sure that the oversight is there for this project. I know, even though I haven't been a long-term resident of Stoughton, I've understood that the last two projects that happened in Stoughton, the oversight was not as good as we would have wanted it, and this time the oversight is excellent. Not only do we have Daedalus to make sure everything is done properly and within the budget and in accordance with the plans and specifications, and that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. One thing I always say to people I've talked to before is that when Daedalus's guy gets sick or leaves, they produce another guy that shows up and makes sure that there's continuity and the project goes on. So I feel very confident that the members of this particular building committee, in combination with Daedalus, will make sure that this project will be very, very successful.
Wonderful. So Gary, 10 years as chair. This must be, like, this has been hanging to be done, waiting on your list forever.
It's been a long process. This is like anything else with the town. We know it takes time, but it was little increments by getting the properties and, you know, trying to do an elevator in the old building, and we couldn't do that. And a big part of this project is ADA compliance. There was no way to get the existing building ADA compliance without tremendous cost. So that's, and I think it's an important part of the town, and it's a building driving north on 27, you're going to see a beautiful building, and hopefully before you enter the center of town, you'll be able to see it a little better coming south. Yeah, I'm proud of this project, yes, and I can't wait for it to get started. We're almost there.
Okay. Gina's out back. Gina Coe is our volunteer executive producer, along with Lisa Remy. And Gina, I'm wondering if you could put a few of those pictures up, and maybe we could have the various members talk our way through, starting with Gary, because he just mentioned what it's going to look like. So Gary, tell us about this photo.
Well, as Pat had said, this is a rendering of the actual building. That's an overhang where you'll be able to walk underneath. Hopefully, we'll be able to put seating and stuff out there when the weather's nice. We're basically in the same footprint, and that's the rendering that we have now.
Okay, so Pat, tell us a little bit about the lighting in the building. It looks like it's going to be more bright and airy.
It's got a lot more glass than we currently have.
Okay.
And the committee really talked a lot about making sure that this would be energy efficient, but still maintain the wide open space that people love about that building. When you walk into the current building on the first floor, there's high ceilings and there's no obstructions, and you can really scan the whole area and see where you want to go, who you're looking for. It's a really welcoming, open space building, and so the architects tried to keep that same design. But it's a community meeting place. It's where the community connects. So we really wanted to make sure that the new building allowed for a lot of different uses. So this building will have a lot more community meeting room space. We've doubled the square foot of where people can come for small conferences, trainings. The public uses our building all the time. In the course of a normal month, our rooms and the children's area is used about 80 to 90 times for library programs and outside programs.
Averaging 3 times per day.
Yeah,
is that right?
it's very. We're open 6 days a week for 64 hours a week, and it really is the one place where everybody can come, regardless of their needs. And the town really doesn't have enough public meeting space, so this will really address some of those needs.
So, Joel, maybe you could tell us what this is. Is this the second floor?
This is actually the first floor. This is what you would see as you walk in the front door. If you're familiar with the current library, the front door is in the corner. The new library, the front door will be in the front.
In the front,
In the
of
front,
all places.
right in the middle of the front. Okay, you'll be able to walk in.
Okay.
And the young adult area, Pat, if correct me if I'm wrong, is on the left.
Yeah, that's correct.
And the children's area, which is a very active area, is going to be on the right.
Yep.
And they have their own areas. And then in the back on the right, there's actually a little area where they can have children's programs, like a children's workroom, a workroom for arts and crafts, and small demonstrations and storytelling and things of that nature. So this whole thing is set up so that all the spaces are very clearly defined. I think that it was an interesting structural problem to make sure that everything worked out right. And we had many discussions about how it was going to look and the exterior is going to look, the materials that are being used. So this came out pretty good. And from a perspective of a public building, I think it's quite a good design, and it's going to be quite advantageous to the town.
All right. So, Tom, tell us a little bit. Joel, he mentioned about the materials, and I'm also very concerned, as many people are, about the handicapped access.
Absolutely.
So I would think, in terms of you monitoring what's happening, that's a big focus for you. So tell us about those two.
It definitely is, and this building will be 100% accessible to people of all physical abilities. There'll be at-grade access right in the front, still keeping the at-grade access in the rear of the building, a fully accessible elevator between all three, because we're actually inserting a third floor, if you will. We call it 2.1. So over the existing front of the library, there'll be, and that's where the addition is going. And the elevator has been strategically located so that it accesses all three areas with one elevator.
So it's like a mezzanine to the front?
Yes,
Okay.
but we're still maintaining that same beautiful, very high ceiling height in that front area. So it's not going to feel like you're in a trapped little, and as the rendering showed, it's really open. It's a very large open platform library, and we'll share that space and the light and the airiness. There's a lot of windows that have been brought in to open it up as a true meeting gathering space. Libraries have transformed to no longer being book warehouses the way they were when I was a kid,
Right.
to now being more of a community room, living room for the community. And this library is really going to do that. I think people are going to absolutely love it.
So that's a good segue over to Pat. Tell us a little bit about purpose in terms of changing over from a book warehouse to a living room?
Well, I think in the beginning of the recession back in 2007 and 8, it really became apparent to us that when times are tough, business really rises in the library. And, you know, it was leading up to that in the early 2000s, there was a lot of conversation about, you know, e-books and online, Google, how you don't need reference librarians, you don't need real books anymore, you can do everything online. And then when the recession hit, that conversation sort of stopped happening because the first things people did when they lost their job was they stopped paying for their cable at home, so they didn't have any computer access at home. You can't find a job nowadays if you don't have internet access because all jobs are on, you have to apply online. We saw a lot of elderly people give up their newspaper subscriptions, but they came into the library and read the newspaper. I mean, it just became a place where when people didn't have their regular routine, which was usually jobs, they were at the library. And our current library is very limited in that it was designed in 1969. It opened in 1969. And all the electric outlets are placed underneath the lowest stack on the perimeter of the walls in the whole building. So to put a computer anywhere, you know, you have to plug it in, and anywhere that I would put computers would block shelving. So it really wasn't designed for the computer world. This new design is going to have outlets everywhere. Our current library is wireless, but this will be, it will have much better capacity.
Was that anything to do with having an electrician as your chair? We're going to have outlets everywhere?
He does.
Have you ever been to his house? It's like they don't even, there's no space between the outlets. They just go around the kitchen like that. It's like...
He does remind us lighting and electricity is important. And but the bigger thing for Gary, as far as I'm concerned, what he adds to the group is he was on the finance committee of the town for 9 or 10 years, whatever.
9 years.
And during that time, we were starting this process, and he understood the big picture of the whole town. And really, up until the high school, this town has never built any new building that wasn't part of a debt exclusion override. Even this library, even this building is a borrowing article and a grant. So he's very aware of how the town works, what things cost, all of the politics of all that.
So maybe, Gary, you could tell us a little bit about how'd that come together as far as how much grant and how much other things that are going in?
Well, Pat went to the MBLC, and that's the whole
MBLC?
The Mass Library Building.
Mass Board of Library Commissioners.
Mass Board of
Yeah.
Library Commissioners.
Yeah.
Right. They're the ones that have the state money. So when the article went through town meeting, the stipulation for the $14 million was if we got the $7 million from MBLC.
Yeah.
So and that's, when we went to town meeting, we talked about that. We kept it simple, and the citizens voted for us. And what happened, though, is it took so long. That was in '07 or whatever.
Yeah. We waited 5 years.
Right,
on that.
and they weren't giving out money for a long time, and we finally jumped to the top of the list. So that's why the building is a little smaller than we originally anticipated, but because of the way that Pat says that the library is changing, you don't need reference books, a reference section or whatever, that we're able to get all the programs that the libraries has into this building.
Great. So, Tom, what about that? I mean, this whole staying on budget now.
Oh, staying on budget is key, and it's one of Pat kind of keeps yelling at me when I keep saying, nope, we can't do it, we can't afford it. Oh, but really, no, we can't afford it.
14 million.
14 million is the number. We are capped at 14 million, and as of right now, we are still on budget at 14 million. Projections are that we will meet the budget, meet the project, and we will be there at the 14 million max.
When do you start?
We're in the bidding process right now. We anticipate bids coming in mid-May, with the contractor starting towards the end of May, and construction will begin end of May, early June, and will take well over a year. So we'll be into the summer of 2018 before we're back into the library.
So, Pat, we just can't start working in the library. What are you doing in between?
Well, we have to move. It's really, we can't be in that building when they renovate it. They're going to keep the footprint, but really a lot of the interior is just going to be demolished.
So Gary's offered his attic?
Yeah, he's found a nice space for us. So Tom and Gary and Paul Jaffoon, who's our town building maintenance person, a year ago, January, we got a list of commercial space in town, and anything that was 5,000 square feet or more, and we got in our trucks and cars and we drove around and visited all of these places. It seems like so long ago
Yes.
now that we did that. We even looked at, there's this sketchy Chinese restaurant in front of Stop and Shop, and we went and looked there because it was a good square foot and it was on the list, but they didn't want us there. And we looked at a lot of different places, but in the end, except for the place we finally got, which is 529 Washington Street, our only other options would have been a 5,000 square foot space in Industrial Park, which wouldn't have been within walking distance of the schools. We wanted to be on the BAT bus line within walking distance of the majority of the schools, and a place that was had parking, was handicap accessible, and I was hoping more than 5,000 square feet. And we're very grateful that we've got something that's almost, 15, 16?
We're just about 15,000 square feet. And I want to mention, because I don't want people to think, oh, we only needed 5 and got 15. The owner of that property, we were very, very successful in negotiating the contract with them, and we're actually only paying for half of the space. Although we're using the entirety of the space, we're only paying for half of it, and he has donated the other rent portion to the town of Stoughton on an annual basis.
Wow, that's terrific. Now, where is that 529?
So if you've lived here a long time, you might remember Roxy's.
Roxy's, yes.
Yes, so that it was Applebee's. Now there's a True Value store there. It's up on 138 going north on the left.
So right next to the True Value. So
Yeah.
maybe we can bring some business to True Value.
Yes,
And maybe we'll buy some other stuff for the library there.
there you
Absolutely.
go.
Yes,
Start helping out these local vendors, which
Yeah.
would be nice.
Yeah. So we have True Value on the left, Dollar Store on the right. BMZ, Brockton Area Multi-Service, is in the back of the building. It's an adult daycare program. And then we have the whole middle center, which is almost the same size as our entire downstairs at the library now. So we've done heavy weeding and getting rid of junk, and we hope that sometime at the end of April or the beginning of May, we will move over there.
You're just going to start trucking it over. Now, and Tom, you're involved in that piece as well because it relates to the scheduling?
That's correct. We're involved in all pieces of it. We help the town through the process from start to finish, including the temporary move, and we'll be working with the town to procure the moving services with Maureen through the procurement office, and we're actually even using some, I don't want to use, some of the sheriff's forces to help us move some of the library books and furniture, again, at a cost savings to the community.
And is that within the 14 million, or is that a separate piece?
It's all within the 14 million. Total project is 14.
And Joel, this is putting a big smile on your face. So
Oh, no,
tell us a little more.
it's working out quite well. I mean, the question that I usually ask Tom on the budget is, we have a owner's contingency, and we want to keep track of that. So the question I usually ask him is, how much money is left in the owner's contingency? So in case there's a problem, something comes up, we know that we have some extra money within the budget to cover these problems. So right now, it's tight, but it's very, very doable. A lot of it has to do with the market for construction services these days. I'm sure you're familiar that a lot of Boston is being built up right now. It's tying up a lot of construction companies and everything, but we had a pre-qualification round where we pre-qualified contractors.
Correct.
And the contractors that were pre-qualified are ones that I've either worked with before or Tom's worked with before, that we're familiar with, and we're very comfortable that they're going to come back and give us a very competitive price. So at this point in time, the budget looks like it's going to be okay, well met. But if you talk to me after the bids are open, we'll see. Okay, but right now we're assuming everything is going to work.
It's going to fall right in place. When will you know? When will the bids be opened?
May 25th.
Correct.
I think is
So
what I
maybe
thought I
we'd
saw.
like to have a little show with 1 or 2 people, maybe Gary and Pat coming back, or whoever, maybe all of you at that point, once you know, and then say, we're ready to launch, and here's where we are. We've already moved, and we have our bids in line. So that might be a good thing
That's
we
fine.
can do.
We'll know who the general contractor is, who
Correct.
the major subcontractors are, and we'll probably have an idea when the groundbreaking will be.
Right.
That would all be good.
Good. So what about Wi-Fi? I think that part of, I'm thinking that the new technology, everybody wants Wi-Fi. So what have you guys done?
Well, I have to say the town has been a great partner with us, as well as the high school building committee. Joel is on both committees, so is our town manager, Michael Hartman. We've worked very closely with the IT department that works for the schools and the town. So we've had a lot of everybody can think outside the box when we're planning for the future. And I think one of the things that came up recently was we talked about putting more fiber in to connect the library to the town and the high school. So it's above I really don't understand it all, but it will increase our ability to have better access to technology. Wi-Fi is wireless internet. I think that's what you're talking about, and that all of our buildings have that now. All the schools do, the library does. We're often. I've driven by the library on a Sunday, and there's somebody sitting out on the bench using their laptop. I mean, the building is wireless, so you don't have to be in it to access it. You'll see cars out in the back lot. People are, with their tablets and stuff. So it's just a community resource, and the goal is to have as much as we possibly can afford to have to plan for the future.
Excellent. What about gaps in service during the move for the people that use your facility religiously?
So that's a really good question. So we have a lot of, we abut 5 or 6 towns. We're all part of Old Colony Library Network, which is a network of 28 towns between Braintree and Sandwich. And we all share. And for many years, I've been here almost 20, but well before that, Stoughton has always been a net lender, which means we lend more to the network than we borrow because we're a middle-sized library. The small libraries like Avon might be a net borrower, and that's just, we all agree to do that. We all pay rates to belong to OCLN that is sort of,
OCLN.
Old Colony Library Network.
Yes.
They manage all of our internet access for the online catalog. We share things. We have a wonderful statewide delivery system where if you place a book on hold at home at 9 o'clock at night and you want it delivered to Stoughton, it will be there in 2 days. And it may have come from Plymouth or Rockland or anywhere in our network. So since we've always been a net lender, for the 18 months that we will be, or 16 months or whatever it will be in a temporary space, we will become a net borrower. And all my director friends are very willing to do that because we have done that for them when they've gone through this. So Canton Library has agreed to, for the week, or if we're closed for a week or two for moving, our patrons can go there to pick up their holds.
Oh, good.
We're very cooperative. That's why libraries work. We share everything. It's cooperative, and the idea is you never turn away anyone's patrons, whether they're from your town or another town. So that's really how it will work. A lot of our patrons are already placing holds to be picked up at a town they might work in, or somewhere that's not as convenient. But the thing about Stoughton is we're open so many more hours than a lot of our colleagues, our abutting towns, because we're open till 9 o'clock 4 nights a week, and that makes a big difference. But they'll survive, and once we're open in our new location, we've moved. We don't have enough room for all the programs, so we've moved. The Monday Night Homework Center has been welcomed at the O'Donnell Middle School Media Center. That's their library. So that started a couple weeks ago, and so that's from 6 to 8 every Monday night. We have outside groups like Overeaters Anonymous and different groups that would meet at the library. Now they have found other sites. Our adult literacy program has 2 conversation classes a week. They meet at the YMCA up the street. They've been very generous to us. Some of our summer reading programs will be held at the Y. Some will be at the Council on Aging. Some of the schools. Everybody. We really have great partners in town.
It sounds like a real great collaboration.
Yeah.
So we only have a couple of minutes left. I thought I'd give you an opportunity, each of you, to say a couple of thank yous. So maybe, Joel, who do you want to say thank you to for this?
Well, I like to say a thank you to the members of the town government and town hall who have been extremely helpful in making sure this project moves forward, cutting through red tape, participating. 4 of the voting members of the building committee are people from town hall. Paul Jaffoon, the facilities manager, Mark Tisdale, the town engineer, plus Mike Hartman, the town manager, and Maureen Doherty, the procurement officer. And I'd like to thank them very much for the effort they put into that. I think that because of that, this project is moving very well.
Good. Tom?
Well, as Joel said, the town departments have really been phenomenal. All of the departments, excuse me, including police, fire, planning board, everybody has really pitched in to make this project positive. I also just want to mention our architectural firm, Feingold Alexander, who also have been a partner through this entire process. Like me, they're employed by the town, but it's really been a true partnership of getting the project done and seeing the ideas really come together on behalf of the entire community.
That's great that you mentioned the architect. There's so much involved in how
Oh, they
this
absolutely.
building's coming out.
Well, it's of course the people that they mentioned, but also town meeting, when we got it to town meeting, that was huge.
Yeah.
And the people of town of Stoughton really want this project, and I feel, and I'm grateful for the town for that.
Excellent. And Pat?
I'd just like to thank, we have some other members on our committee that weren't able to come today. Lynn Jardin is a town resident and a principal at the Gibbons School. Pat Colburn was on the finance committee for years and is a key member on our committee. Who else am I?
Joe Palermo.
Joe Palermo. So Joe Palermo was the other person who was on the original committee 10 years ago. And he is the vice president of pre-construction design at Skanska. It's an international construction company. We are so lucky to have him.
Very knowledgeable guy.
So
Very
you've been able to
knowledgeable.
pull all these people together.
And finally, I just want to say, Tom is the owner's project manager, but he really is the owner manager, and he really protects us from ourselves. And there's lots of times where,
All right. Well,
yeah,
great. That's a great comment. You protect them from yourself. Wonderful. So, all right. So we're going to maybe visit again. I want to thank you all for watching. I want to thank Leo McGowan, Gina Coe, Lisa Remy, Roy Cohen, all in the background. Thanks very much for watching.